Okie dokie. He's got a beard.
FBI.
Golly, I didn't know the hell was that.
It was very professorial.
I will check. I will check.
Like a water.
The dimensions of this cubicle are bigger than I've given them. I'm not going to send it out.
No, I can't.
Steve, did you hear that? The dimensions of this cubicle and then the way they look, they're much bigger than what you hear. So it's hard to say that.
No, I just love it.
Yeah, you know I'm going. There's no such thing as a standard. They went from guidelines to benchmarks to standards. And there are guidelines.
I know. I'm not saying
Joy.
Hi, David.
Am I sitting in the right?
You're in the right one. I know, I sat in the chancellor's place first. All right.
You remind me of that, okay?
This is way too fast.
She's over there.
Okay, is this my agenda right here?
That's my agenda.
That's your agenda.
Yeah, you
Where's
just
my
need to,
agenda?
you just need to holler at me and then I'll get it started whenever you're ready. I'm glad you made it back.
what's the hole up here, Mr. Madam President?
Did you get it closed? Good.
You need a microphone?
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you. I will call the meeting to order, please. Am I live?
That's on.
If I may have your attention.
It doesn't sound, you're not picking up.
If I may have your attention. Karen, can you hear me? No. Can you? Okay. If Karen can hear me, everybody should hear me. She's not paying attention to me, you understand, but she could hear me. All right, I will call the meeting to order. A regular meeting of the Board of Trustees, a special meeting of the Board of Trustees, August 4th. Do we have any public comment, Mr. Gates? Okay. Before we proceed into our budget workshop, I have a public comment or two. Do you all remember the two students of the Rouge program that visited with us last month? And we have some very lovely thank you notes from both of them. And I particularly wanted to read this first line to you. Thank you so much for providing a wonderful opportunity to watch a well-functioning board in action. Wow. So that's to your credit. And they thanked us for our hospitality and made particular mention of the campus presidents and your helpfulness to them. And Reginald Gates certainly made us feel welcome. So thanks to all of you for our guests. They'll probably be applying for positions with us when
Absolutely.
they finish. And then if you have not had an opportunity to read the new Reach magazine, this is projection in a new form, and it is excellent. And I want to congratulate Suzanne Cotreau and her team for their efforts.
Is she here tonight? She's not.
Okay, now to work. Budget workshop.
Thank you, Madam President. Well, good evening to each of you. We are very pleased, Madam President and board members, that you have come one more time to listen to us as we prepare for our 2014-15 budget. This is budget workshop number 3. This will be 3 down, and 2 to go. We have our next one August 12th, and then the final one will be August 18th. And the next day, of course, is our back to work session for everybody, the Chancellor's Appreciation Breakfast for all of our employees, and our Professional Development Day. So I want to start tonight, and each time I stand up each year to talk about the next year's budget, I remember the words that Mark McClendon gave me some years ago as we were working on our budget. And those of you who know Mark know his sense of humor is very interesting. And he said to me, Chancellor, may I just tell you how I feel? I said, Mark, that's all I ever want to hear from you, is exactly how you feel. He says, well, I think you should tell a story, because your budget is actually a story of what goes on at Tarrant County College. And I said, you know, Mark, you're exactly right. We should tell a story, because that's what the budget, you put the numbers there, but it's the story behind those numbers that really determine who we are. And so I took his advice, and as you know, every time you have a budget workshop, you get a lot of additional storytelling. And tonight is going to be exactly that. You're going to hear a lot of storytelling from members of the CALT, especially. I want to give a very special thank you to Stephen and Karen for having sat with us through a pretty long day a couple of days ago. That's one of the rewards of being a JCC member, is that you get to sit through some pretty interesting sessions as we're working with the budget. So thank both of you. As you know, Stephen Brown is the president of the JCC, the overall president. You may also recall that this current year, we went to a different model. We've had 10 members of the JCC, 2 representing each campus faculty association. And this year, they asked, and we agreed, for them to have one person to represent the entire district, because it was getting to be pretty much an overload for one person to be president of the campus faculty association and then president of the entire JCC. So as a result of that, we have 11 members now, and Stephen has the honor. He was elected to serve in this role, and Karen Silverberg is the president-elect, and she'll be in this seat for next year. So everybody couldn't come tonight, I see, but we appreciate the 6 of you for being here. Our agenda, and watch the screen now, please. Always like for you to see pretty. You all know how I feel about the pretty screens that Shelley Birch makes for us. She's just so good at this. As you can see, budget workshop number 3, and I don't know if you missed the tassel moving. There it is. Shelley's going to move it again. That means success. When you move that tassel from one side to the other, that means that you have reached your goal here at Tarrant County College, and we appreciate that, Shelley. The agenda for this evening is to give you our story for what has happened this current year that we are about to close on August 31, the 2013-14 highlights that you'll hear from each of the CALT members. Then I'm going to give you some data from the Higher Education Coordinating Board Almanac. I don't know if all of the trustees have received their almanacs yet or not. Have you received them? They should have been sent to you through the mail. If they haven't been, Mr. Gates will get a copy for each of you. You know, it's excellent reading. It's very, very good reading. It tells a story of what all of the community colleges and all of the four-year colleges and the universities, including research universities, are doing. Gives all of our successes and also shows where we need to do some more work. It doesn't editorialize, it just gives you the raw numbers. And then I want to take you through some information on the top 10 Texas community colleges, because as you know, Tarrant County College is among the top 10 in size in Texas, and it makes much more sense for us to look at what the top 10 are doing. Of course, we're interested in the other 40 community college districts, but those 10 are our peers as determined by the Higher Education Coordinating Board. the community colleges are grouped by size, and of course, we are among the largest in the state. And then I want to look at the preliminary budget that I'll take you through, look at the maintenance and operational costs that we're expecting, and also give you the request for new money from the various KELP members. And so now we're going to go into each KELP member's work. Notice that student success is at the heart of everything we do, and our goal is to always hit the mark right in the center to do what students come here for us to do, and that is to help them earn a credential of some type or to help them successfully complete a course or a very short certification program, whatever it is they want to do. That's what we determine student success to be. Our new slogan, as you know, is success within reach, and that's what you'll see on the magazine that President Appleman talked about a moment ago, Reach, and we've renamed Projection to Reach. Our goal is to always help the student reach in the right direction, and that's one of the things that we'll be working on more intently this 14-15 year. And I'll talk some more about that at our following meeting on the 12th. The first person up is Dr. Peter Jordan, who is, as you know, president of our South Campus. And I want you to know that as the KELP members come to the podium, what you will hear, the progress that they've made, the successes that they've had, the things that they've done, in many, many instances are in collaboration with other KELP members' areas. We all work extremely well together, and we work extremely close. So much of what happens on any campus is supported by KELP members at the district office and vice versa. I've tried to keep everybody within a certain timeline, but you know that's kind of like herding cats. So, Pete, you set the standard. You set. Dr. Jordan has so many wonderful things he wants to tell you about. So I told him earlier. I said, Pete, you got to either talk faster or leave something out. We'll see which one he does. I have a feeling he'll talk faster. I don't know if he can do that. And they know who they are, who's coming up next, and I won't announce each one. I'll just sit down and wait until the end. Thank you, Pete. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Chancellor Hadley, President Appleman, members of the board. I'm pleased to share with you some of the highlights of this past year on South Campus. We had one of our students earn the Jack Kent Cook Transfer Scholarship, which is valued at $30,000 for 3 years. We also had construction management students who won second place at the International Builders Show in Las Vegas. We increased student participation in clubs and organizations by 15%, and those students who participated in clubs and organizations had a fall to spring retention rate of 83% versus students who did not participate in clubs and organizations. One of our faculty members, Paul Leister, who is also president of the Faculty Association, was named one of 10 national finalists for the Community College Futures Assembly Bellwether Award. And we launched the Cultivating Scholars Research Showcase with 31 students presenting research papers, including presentations at the college-wide Student Success Scholastic Summit. We also worked on developing plans for opening the first South Campus Early College High School in conjunction with Everman ISD. That school will be based on the school within a school model and opens this month with 64 ninth graders. We also adopted the Gen Hope laptop program, which was founded by Commissioner Charles Brooks. This became one of the TCC college readiness initiatives and served 341 middle school students from Crowley, Everman, and Fort Worth ISDs, and we graduated 55 students this year who completed that 3-year after-school STEM program. We are also fortunate enough to receive $39,000 in grant money with the support, as the Chancellor pointed out, of our grants area and others for support of the Texas Pre-Freshman Engineering Program. This was a grant from UT San Antonio and the Sid Richardson Foundation to support this 7-week Gen Hope program that has 85 students in the program, and it ends this week. We also offered two 8-week industry training initiatives in automotive technology that focused on painting techniques for 30 Firestone Tire and General Electric employees. And finally, the Family Empowerment Center, working with partners from Catholic Charities and the United Way, processed 353 tax returns for individuals in the community, including students, that yielded $662,981 in refunds. Thank you.
Thank you. That was great timing. You set the pace.
President Appleman, board members, Chancellor, let me just first of all take this opportunity to thank the board for all of your support over these years. I'm going to give you highlights of the highlights, so I'm going to cut out some things to make sure that I finish under the other presidents told me I would lose $100,000 per second if I went over. So I wanted to start out with the early college high school that we're going to be starting this fall. We have 120 students enrolled, and this is a partnership with Grapevine Colleyville ISD. Gary Smith, who is the Vice President for Academic Affairs, established a group of faculty that are really interested in research, and he set up the multi-divisional research academy. We have faculty from all 3 divisions that have students involved in research, original research, and at the end of the year they do poster sessions when they describe their products. We have a fairly new Cisco lab, and this is the 5th time in 6 years that our Cisco students that enter the networking competition finished first in the state of Texas. Last year, one of our students finished first in the nation. Okay, we started a Plus 50 program that started on the Northeast campus but is spreading out to all the other campuses. It was established as a result of a grant from the AACC and AARP, and basically it involves returning adult students who have changes in their lives and their careers, and we advise them and get them involved in training and back into another kind of job. In 1998, we established kind of a celebration of outstanding alumni on the campus. Every year we do about 8 to 10 students that have distinguished themselves in some ways after they've left the Northeast campus, after taking about 45 hours or obtaining a degree or certificate. And this year we dedicated what we call the Alumni Wall of Fame. One of our alumnus is Senator Wendy Davis, and she was there to help us unveil with the Chancellor the Wall of Fame. 40 of our students who are members of the paralegal program, and specifically the Student Paralegal Association, which is an organization on the campus, 40 of them provided more than 150 hours of service in support of the Texas Lawyers for Texas Veterans Clinics. And finally, we offered a Covey workshop on the campus for about 60 of the administrators throughout the district this past year, and we plan to continue that this coming year in our student development area. And if you remember, one of the 7 habits is begin with the end in mind, and this is the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Well, we're going to really miss Larry. And he always kept everything calm and so on. Good evening. I, too, want to echo my colleagues' thanks to the board and Mrs. Hadley. I also want to thank all of my colleagues on the CELT. Going through this budget, there was a lot of give and take. And my colleagues were very generous in supporting the Northwest Campus, and I really appreciate that. On behalf of our students, I thank you for that. We have had a very busy year, and again, it takes a village. So what I'm sharing with you today are really a result of the efforts of our faculty and our staff working in concert so that our students would be successful. But we expanded the partnerships with the independent school districts in offering technical dual credit courses. Examples are the Fire Academy with Arlington ISD, Criminal Justice, and Aviation with Fort Worth ISD, and we are expanding those programs. We have more demand probably than we are able to meet at this point. We also implemented a College Credit for Heroes program with 23 military service members, and we plan to expand that program. We launched the Texas School Marshal program through the Police Academy. And I have to say, both the Police Academy and the Fire Academy, they're not only retaining the students, but they are passing their licensing exam at 100%. It is a big deal. It's a big accomplishment. Our Cornerstone students, that's our honor program, successfully competed with university students, and Annalise Smith won the prestigious Bow Award. We were among the few community college honor programs competing at the conference. Marine Creek Collegiate High School had 19 graduate with high school diplomas and college credit. 13 graduated with Associate of Arts degree. The average number of college credits was about 61 hours, and all of them were able to transfer to a university, and some got fantastic scholarships on top of getting accepted at the universities. We are moving to Alliance, and we need to thank a lot of people, but particularly the facilities folks who have been working 24/7 to ensure that Alliance is in a very nice space for our students. And our faculty have been working equally hard. In fact, we have 3 new programs, and all of them are successful. I only included the pilot program, even though we only started that in January of 2014. We already have 3 students complete the FAA's private pilot certificate. And we have completers in the logistics programs and in the composites program. So we only have good things happening in the future. Drama students had a lot of drama. They did really well in the Kennedy Center American College Theater Festival. Our students also competed in a leadership conference, all of our Business Professionals of America regional leadership, and did very well. So thank you again.
Good evening. I want to, on behalf of Southeast Campus, also thank you for last year's budget. You did wonderful work on the Southeast Campus, and I want to spend some time just talking about a few of the highlights. Of course, a year ago, I was standing here talking, and the early college high school was just a twinkle in our eye, thinking about how it was going to do. And we're excited that this morning the faculty and staff of Arlington Independent School District moved into the facility in record time, and that has a round of applause. If you don't applaud, I am going to applaud. And this could not have been done without setting the groundwork from Dr. LeBlanc, of course, and Tahita, and of course the facilities and our legal team who worked terrifically with AISD to get this facility. And once you see it at the groundbreaking, you're going to be very impressed with it. We had 125 as our class that went in. We had 420 applicants for that position, so we're excited about that. Subway came in, we had a great opportunity, and you supported this, to take the ECI kitchen and turn it into another teaching facility. Mr. McClendon actually led that and came to the idea with us, how about turning this into another lab for our students, which we were able then to take in 5 additional sections for 59 students, open up more dual credits opportunities, and move into continuing education. This is our signature program on our campus, so we're happy to make it grow. Our Emporium is just about to open, again, thanks to the facilities. It's a beautiful facility when you see it, and we're still getting over the carpet, which went in. But what we did in the amount of space we have was just tremendous. We have 2 study rooms in there. We don't have a lot of study space, but we have 2 study rooms in there and a 60-seat capacity. And our plan is to move it into a multidisciplinary option right from the get-go. Our outside sticky space, that's where our sticky spaces go in Southeast, and we have a lot of outside space. We are very excited. We have 15 umbrella tables, 36 benches, and 12 more umbrellas. This, and Steve can talk about this, we are seeing more and more students standing in line for these tables and to stay on campus. And we're seeing an increase in student success because they are staying on campus. And because of your generosity, if you haven't been on the campus, our traffic lights are up and running. We got our 2 traffic lights. Dr. Carrier would be very excited about that, as you know. But I am getting letters from students thanking us for those lights. People get in it, and faculty. But it's all because of the generosity from you all. Our Veterans Center, we took a nice space, not very large, but big enough to put some lounge furniture in, and it's right in the middle of a registration area, and our counselor works there 2 days a week, and that is being used on a regular basis. And finally, our Student Success Center, which started out as just an idea. I'd like to thank Mr. Rusty Fox, actually. That was his idea when I first got there, and we evolved into just a wonderful model, I think, for the district. We served 24,267 students this past year, and those are only the ones that signed in. We have a lot more that are working. I also want to thank you, and I know you can be thanked from a lot of people. Also, the success coaches is one of the best moves we ever made in this district. We made a lot of good moves. But having those success coaches, the students now seek those 3 folks out, and they're now housed in our Student Success Center, and they just had, in just the 1 semester, 1,900 appointments. That doesn't count, again, the walk-ins that they do. In our library, we put in 2 mediascapes where a number of students can sit around and work on multimedia projects. But what's even more exciting is we only had 1 study room in the library. And when Dr. Jordan did some renovations over at his campus in order for an experiential classroom, he had some glass study rooms that he didn't need. So the Southeast campus, in its innovative way, did some dumpster diving. And we found some 3 wonderful, Dr. Jordan, we called them up and was glad to give it to us. They're gorgeous. Students love them, and they're, again, full. So now we have 4 really nice study rooms within our library. I also really want to thank you for the continued support of our organizations when you send students. You heard the letter from Dennis last week that you spoke, the democracy commitment. We are democracy, community colleges is democracy's education, and community college is the Ellis Island of education. We take everybody, and everybody come on in. And the Phi Theta Kappa, we are, and Dr. Fulkerson is going to talk about it, we are the leaders in the state in Phi Theta Kappa at the leadership level. You need to really, we're real proud of that. So with that, I want to thank you again for all your support, and we look forward to a wonderful year.
Members of the board and Chancellor Hadley, thank you again for allowing us to come and tell our stories. Mark, thank you for giving us that good idea, because it is fun to hear us all try to edit all the things that we do down to 2 minutes or 2.5 minutes or 3, depending on who's talking fast. You've heard earlier in the year about the continuing education program's passion for the community's children. Last year, the Continuing Education Unit at Trinity River offered a STEM camp for children at the Butler Project, and they followed that with another STEM camp this year, which was just as well received. We had 33 students last year. The National Association of Housing and Redevelopment gave its award of merit to our program for the work that we did with those public project students, and we were very proud of that. You've already had mention of Phi Theta Kappa. Bill's right. His chapter is the president, and the Trinity River campus is the vice president in the state organizations. We're just 5 years old, but we were named a top Texas chapter. We received numerous awards. It's a 5-star chapter that has 475 members, and we are really proud of that number. We're also proud of the way our students across the campuses are collaborating. In the spring of 2013, students from all campuses got together and began to work on the language and the issues that are related to a common constitution for student government associations. They approved those in the spring, and we are learning, not as efficiently as Pete perhaps, that engagement in projects like that holds students on campus. They like seeing the work that they're doing in co-curricular activities, and research shows that that helps them succeed, so we're delighted with that. I want you to know also that in collaboration with the Southeast Campus, we worked with Frontier High School of the Mansfield Independent School District. They wanted to have a dual credit medical academy. Starting in the fall, they bused 22 students from Frontier High School to Trinity River campus, and the children were there all day. At the end of this semester, they have completed 22 college hours. As seniors, they will complete 24 college hours and also get a phlebotomy workforce certificate. They're all thinking they want to be in the medical professions, and so that location and that workforce certificate are going to help them really see if that's what they want to do. We're excited about the facility there and about the work that the students have done. The juniors at Frontier High School have already decided that's what they want to do. We've had to put a cap on the program for them, and we have a waiting list there. So we're excited about that. We know on every campus that if you have individual leaders among the faculty and staff, that inspires students. We have role models on all our campuses. The Vice President of Student Development Services, Adrian Rodriguez, was nominated by Phi Theta Kappa for Distinguished College Administration. He was one of 25 winners at PTK's International Conference, one of 25 at an international conference. Serafine Garcia, the coordinator of Community Outreach and Service, was named the Parade Marshal for the 2013 Fort Worth Mexican Independence Day Parade. He received that honor for a distinguished record of service to the Hispanic community. And I can't tell you how many school-aged children have seen our campus because of tours that he's planned for them. So we are delighted about that. Tyson McMillan is sitting right back here. There he is. The Texas Association of Student Support Services Programs named Tyson McMillan as the 2014 Outstanding Trio Achiever. He's a sponsor of Phi Theta Kappa. He's the president-elect of our Faculty Association and associate professor of computer science. And he was also named a distinguished advisor at PTK's International Conference. So we're proud of you, Tyson. Good work. And he and Justin Brumman are both super advisors, faculty members who've been trained to sit in the advising center and help. Amy G. is one of our nursing instructors. She was named one of the great 10 nurses by Cook Children's Hospital. It's an honor that's extraordinary because they have such high standards at that institution. And the last one I'm going to ask you to look at is a picture. In that picture, you see Terry Michela from the Academy, Jim Schrantz from the Department of English at Trinity, and Vicki Sapp from English at Southeast. They won third place in the city's corporate spelling bee. It's an activity that sponsors activities to fight illiteracy in the community. And I've decided they're better than spell check. I couldn't pronounce a single word in their last 3 rounds. But when you see Terry or Jim or Vicki, ask them to spell something hard. They'll be a good work at that. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. President Appleman, members of the board, Chancellor Hadley. First of all, thank you for your support during this year. It has been a busy and exciting year for us in TCC Connect, which we are going to mention some highlights. During this year, we established TCC Connect, which is the merger of e-learning, dual credit, and weekend college areas. We also created the weekend college programs, which will allow students to complete their degree in 18 months. And also, we developed 9 fully, actually 100% online programs in the areas of business and information technology. Also, during this year, we were working in developing policies, instructional agreements, and memorandums of understanding related to initiatives that we deal with, which are dual credit and House Bill 5. And finally, during this year, in collaboration with PR and marketing, we developed presence and awareness regarding the operational areas of TCC Connect in both English and Spanish media outlets. Thank you.
Madam President, Trustees, and Chancellor, I'm going to briefly highlight some accomplishments of some of the various departments that are part of my organization, but I'm going to spend the bulk of my time talking a little bit about things that are related to my upcoming requests. But first, you see our Web Communications Department, they did complete their usability testing for both our main website as well as the intranet. That information will be used to design on a go-forward basis both of those sites. We find that in doing usability type of studies that what we think is the best usage of a website is not always the best usage, and we want to design our website based on the user, which is primarily our students. The Information Center has developed a student engagement support guide. For lack of a better term, it's a consumer service guide that we're going to use to interact with our students primarily. And then our Graphic Services Department, they've won, the Chancellor, our Madam President talked about the Reach magazine. Well, the last two editions of what was then the Projection magazine was also award-winning for graphic design and layout. So we only look for bigger and better things with the publication of the Reach magazine. And then under strategic initiatives, we successfully graduated the third class of the Chancellor's Emerging Leaders program, and we have a lot of involvement from the alumni members of that program. And then our grants, Office of Grants Development and Compliance, they successfully manage and oversee about $17 million worth of active grants, as well as this year, new grant monies in the amount of $1.2 million. So they've also trained many of the folk who operate grants on the different campuses. Compliance is always something that we want to be focused on with our grants. Next, as I said, I'm going to talk a little bit about what the request is going to be later that the Chancellor will talk to you about. It was mentioned previously that we developed a new tagline, Success Within Reach, and we're excited about that. We've trademarked it thanks to our legal department. The rollout of a comprehensive marketing plan, which is something we had long wanted to do. That plan included print, radio, television, cinema, shopping malls, as well as online. And then we aligned some strategic sponsorships this year. This list is not exhaustive, but it includes Putting Texas to Work, which was a huge job fair that we were a part of, the Festival of Lights Parade, the Main Street Arts Festival, Texas Rangers Baseball, as well as Plaid for Women. Then next, we think that by bringing so many of the different things that we were outsourcing in-house, we've had significant financial savings, one of which is the development of our tagline. We did that with a group internally that was inclusive across the board of our customers. So we think that that savings has been significant. Next, the successful support of new programs and initiatives. You just heard Carlos talk about Weekend College, as well as the Innovation Forum and the Common Course materials. And then we've successfully rebranded and redesigned, as mentioned earlier, Projection magazine. It is now called Reach, but we did something a little different this time to broaden our distribution. In addition to mailing to our direct mailing list, we were included as an insert in the 360 West magazine, which has a couple of zips in the Arlington area that it does, and we think it's going to touch an audience that we've not necessarily had, or at least needs to know more about us. Then lastly, which is not included up there, just by way of stats, we had nearly 6 billion, with a B, primary impressions generated to date, and that was through advertising, marketing, as well as press coverage. We had 1,427 media placements to date. That would include full stories, mentions, inclusions, online, broadcasts, as well as print. And we feel that we've expanded the TCC awareness in the marketplace. And we've done it through radio and print, on NPR Radio, La Mexicana, The Beat 94.5, 97.9, La Vida News, television, we've been on CNN, CNBC, Fox Sports Southwest, MSNBC, Univision, as well as the Travel Channel. So when you hear that request, just go thumbs up. Thank you a lot.
That was a pitch.
I have to follow Reginald. Chancellor Hadley, Mrs. Appleman, members of the board, I'm excited to provide you with some highlights from the academic affairs, continuing education, and student success areas. First of all, I'll talk about academic affairs. One of the highlights of our year was in the fall semester we established the academic curriculum teams. And these are comprised of faculty from each discipline and from each campus. And I have to give credit where credit is due. Dr. Bill Coppola did an amazing job leading in the creation of the ACTs. And once they were up and running, these teams of faculty selected over 400 common course learning materials. And that's 68% of the overall. So that deserves a round of applause. We look forward to continuing that work next year. We also developed 46 stackable certificates, and these certificates prepare students for entry into the workforce, and we hope it also provides them with a pathway into the college so that they get that early certificate that allows them to get a job and then come back into TCC to continue their education. It also allows us to qualify for success points. Under continuing education, we were awarded 2 new grants through the Texas Workforce Commission, totaling over $1.7 million to provide skill development training in manufacturing, welding, robotics, carpentry, and air logistics. We also collaborated with Bell Helicopter and Fort Worth ISD to provide advanced aviation and engineering training at Dunbar High School. And on the day the program started, they arrived in a helicopter. And so I think if I wasn't enrolled in that program, if I were a student, I would want to after that. The students participating in the program will be able to earn an industry certificate and dual credit. Lastly, we established a community resource room at the TCC Opportunity Center. In that resource room, we're able to provide computer access. We're providing information on all the programs that we offer at TCC, as well as information on how to register and to obtain financial aid. For student success, we had an exciting year as well. We enhanced graduation, the process overall, and that resulted in a record attendance at commencement of 1,469 graduates. That's a 19% increase. Yes. We also conveyed 6,667 credentials, certificates, and degrees. Again, that's an 18% increase. Yes. We dispersed $125 million in financial aid to 28,453 students, which is a 2% increase over last year. We expanded our college access program to 57 of the 59 public high schools in Tarrant County, and we received over 6,000 applications. As Dr. Coppola and others have mentioned, we hired 15 success coaches that assisted 17,751 students across the district in making the transition to college and assisting them in being retained at TCC. And lastly, we provided face-to-face tutoring to 39,959 students in over 300,000 visits. And I've just gotten the numbers for our online tutoring, Chancellor. We provided online tutoring to 2,185 students with over 5,000 sessions. So.
Good evening, Chancellor and Board. Again, I follow everybody else saying thank you for providing us the resources. I get challenges all the time from our constituents with regards to adding new technology or explaining new technology or incorporating new technology. And as a board and as my fellow peers on the CELT, all of them are considered, many of them are implemented, and there's quite a few successes, and I want to speak to those as we go through here. I have a number of departments and divisions, and I'm going to try to focus on the one single project that might have caused the most stir, whether that was positive or negative. Sometimes there's positives in the negative. With regards to institutional effectiveness and planning, this is a group that used to be part of institutional research until fairly recently when we created them to become an entity that reports directly to me, primarily as a result of some of the SACS activity. We've implemented a new piece of software called Weave, and it helps us close the gaps with regards to tracking what we consider our success points for all of our projects and all of our planning. And the software has some really good reporting functions and capabilities that we'll see in the upcoming years. Institutional research, for the first time in our history, completed an audit of state reporting with 0 findings, which means they agreed with how we interpreted our own data without any questions or reports back that asked us to either correct information. And for an institutional research office, this is pretty much like winning the Oscar.
Tim, I just have to say this. I recall going back some time when we used to have 200 and 300 questions.
Yes.
And we would put a team together in a room, and it would take them a week or two to figure it all out. So this is absolutely like winning the Oscar. So we thank your team for doing this great work for us.
With information security, we've always taken information security seriously, but we handled it bifurcatedly through many different groups, both internal and external to the departments. This year I introduced Dr. James August in February, and he, in the short time he's been here, has worked with legal to implement a process for creating a non-disclosure agreement that's important for both us and for the vendors that interact with us, whether we exchange information or whether we exchange hardware and software. So in our world, again, behind the scenes, it's a very important document to have because it allows you to make sure that you're operating on the same conversation level with regards to security. Process improvement, a department that I inherited from Reg, and you always wonder why people are so willing to give things away. But I'm going to take credit for his successes. So that's what comes with the transfer. We facilitated within process the improvement. There's a certain activity that's facilitated by the group that they go through specific business processes step by step with everybody involved, and it's like going to the dentist, then going to the chiropractor, then going back to the dentist, and then going back to the chiropractor. You're not comfortable at any one set point in time until the process entirely is over. But that resulted in a 40% reduction in time to hire for staff, which is a significant decrease in the amount of time it takes to onboard faculty, which are primarily the reason HR is there. So that was a good group. And Reg also asked me to make sure that everybody knew that the chancellor, when we first had our first introduction about a year and a half ago to the lean exercises, she said, "This is amazing. I want every faculty and staff member to go through the training," and we're about 90% through. So for that group of 2 people to basically engage in a training program that involves thousands, that was a Herculean task. Technical services, they implemented a product called Laserfiche for basically it takes your paper, scans it into a readable format, assigns some intelligence to it, and puts it in a database. In 1 year, we scanned in over 835,000 student records, the old transcripts, the old records we used to keep in paper. And we processed those records now in digital format so we don't have to keep as many paper copies around. With a $20,000 savings, which is typically in storage and retrieval, because a lot of times we don't have places to store on one campus, we have to go off. I just got notified last week that that particular project was an award winner for 2014 by the manufacturer of the software. They considered it an innovative use of their software. So that's always nice to be recognized by the vendor. And in operations, Mark's challenge, the great challenge from finance was help us get out of the business of approving or creating purchase requisitions for things that are commodity items. So buying pencils, buying paper. We help them with the implementation of what is called the TCC Marketplace. If you've ever shopped on Amazon, we now have our own Amazon. We have multiple vendors, all of their product catalogs, and only the things that we want to buy, we can buy from them, and we don't have to go through multiple levels of approval or a buyer's interface. And it means that our faculty and staff get what they need quicker at a much cheaper price. And then we also implemented Ad Astra. Some of you might be aware of that this is the new facilities and space planning product that helps us now register classrooms for the upcoming semester and also do event planning. And then lately I had Reg, he added something, so rather quickly I wanted to make sure that I added something. Last year, Dr. Fulkelson, Dr. Tahita, said I want to make sure I don't mess that one up, came to me with a faculty a request to take a look at a video, and the TED video on a 3D cadaver, and she said, this is really interesting. I said, well, let's go get one. So we did. And to the surprise of everybody, we got one. I think we were the first community college to have one. I think we did demonstrate it to the board for a couple of board members. The activity that our faculty have generated through their students made its way to the Sid Richardson Foundation, and because of what we do with it, they're giving us another one. So I consider that the true cross-functional activity between academics, the grant department, and technology to make sure that we're putting something in the hands of our students that very few medical schools have. And, at first we were the first community college to have one, but now we're the only community college that has two. So thank you for allowing me to play in this resource paradise.
All right, Madam Chancellor, Madam Chairman, Trustees, good evening. As I was listening to all the accolades and all the things that all our presidents do, I want to just take you back in history. I have 2 minutes, and I'll make it really quick. In 2013, we stood there, and then we looked at it beyond. When I first came to the college, the chancellor asked me, would I go to this meeting, and would we look at what the community wants? And as a finance person, I typically look at balance sheets, but since she insisted we wanted to. And as we listened to the public, a lot of the students said, we are selecting the way we buy books based on their costs. We don't select on the greatness of our faculty in our different theorems. So the board came back to us and said, would you do something to change that? How can we do it? And we did. So we started that process, and we looked upon and we implemented a process of how could we reduce the cost of books. And we started that process, and the first time we did it, we were able to save over $600,000 on 17 textbooks. In this next phase, with the help of the leadership of people like Bill Coppola, the JCC, many faculty, the president, and everybody, it took a momentous, we're now looking, we have taken over 565 common books, 400 courses. The estimated savings are over $600,000. I am really happy to just say that we had a small part, but the biggest part is to such a valiant faculty that did so much to change it. And even today as we speak, the other community colleges in Texas are looking at this example, and I think they really deserve all the credit for the changes that we did. So I wanted to recognize especially our JCC. On the financial price, we looked at the unified print costs, and that was a great opportunity. We are now saving, based on that thing, we looked at it, we teamed with Mr. Marshall who helped us, and we looked at right now savings over $775K per month and nearly $1 million a year, and we continue to look further. The e-procurement program was really designed out of the base that we have nearly 1,200 POs per month, and we had to do something different. We were buying it, and we look at savings, and with the help of technology and everybody learning a new system, we expect a lot of savings from you.
PO means purchase order.
Yeah, sorry, for our purchase orders. And then with the help of our friends in technology, we did a reverse auction, and reverse auction being where the bidder actually bids down the price. We were able to save $550K, and we're going to use this more. So that's all our results. Thank you.
Good evening, Chancellor, Board of Trustees, faculty, and staff. Good evening. Our story for 2013-14 in facilities is that we're very proud to play a role in student success by providing engaging, flexible, collaborative facilities that our faculty bring to life for our students. You've heard tonight a lot from the presidents about exciting things they have on their campuses, and we're proud to be a small part of those, and we have big things happening at each of the campuses, as you see up there. South Campus in March, we had our groundbreaking for our energy technology building. At Northeast Campus, you heard Dr. Darledge talk about the Phase 1 for the early college high school that is going to be opening in August. We're going to be working on Phase 2 of that because we're converting our physical plant building that's there on 26 across from the water park into that facility and giving back a really important building on that campus to educational purposes. It's been housing our IT and our real estate group. At Northwest, you remember our firing range that opened last fall, 2013. And, of course, you heard Dr. LeBlanc talk about exciting things that are happening up 35 in Alliance in our new Center of Excellence. And we have people moving in as we speak up there, so that's exciting. At Southeast, our early college high school, we are moving people in today. And for fall classes to start August 25th. And then the Emporiums that Dr. Coppola spoke about will also be opening here for the fall. At Trinity River, our early college high school, which is the Texas Academy of Biomedical Sciences, will be having classes here in the fall, and the Mathaporium, which are vibrant, great spaces that you need to go take a look at. So those give you a little bit of highlights. In addition to these big projects, we have about 170 projects going on around the district, and we couldn't do this without good software that help us sort of manage these things. There's a software package called TMA that we have turned into a web-based program this year, and that's been very important about processing all our iService requests that come in to facilities, and then a new eBuilder software package that Tim Marshall's group helped us implement that is for really the bigger projects and tying what we do on a project management side to the finance side, and that's been very important for us. We have also brought in a flat operational budget this year outside of utilities, which of course we don't control the cost of utilities, but I do give a lot of credit to our team in negotiating the best rates that we can in utilities. And that's while we've added new square footage. And then, of course, our innovation forums opened earlier this year, and they are right now processing about 110 different projects at various stages. And lastly, district-wide, we have implemented an assessment of our lands holdings. That's really the first ever that we've really looked at our land holdings, and it enables us to do some long-term strategic planning on what's best to do with our real estate. So I'd leave you with a quote from Winston Churchill that we just love on the real estate side that says, "We shape our buildings and our buildings shape our lives," and we're excited that these buildings that you've heard about tonight are shaping the lives of our students. So thank you for your time this evening.
President Appleman, board members, Chancellor Hadley. The legal department this year drafted a standardized early college high school facilities use agreement, operations manual, and memorandum of understanding with all of the ISDs. What that means is if a student goes to Grapevine, Colleyville, Everman, Lake Worth, Fort Worth ISD, or AISD. They will all get the same quality service under the same expectations as any other student. Second, we finalized the land swap on Trinity River campus, bringing in excess of $4 million to Tarrant County College. The Faculty Academy implemented the Mastery of Teaching Institute, which supports faculty who wish to research, implement, and analyze results of new pedagogical skills in the classroom. We standardize participation waivers for use district-wide, and what that means is that when somebody's tempted to say, oh, we don't want to get a student waiver because it takes too long to go through legal, now they just have to go to the website, print it off, and do it. Lastly, this belongs to HR. They led the hiring of full-time staff and adjunct faculty for TCC Connect, and that was a huge job. Thank you.
Are there any questions of any of the CALP members before I go to part two? Any questions from anybody?
Very impressive, I would have to say, without polling the board for an official vote, that
Well, thank you very much.
awesome, as the kids would say.
You
Just
sign
awesome.
off on all of those.
I told Kristen, I said, they're working us over, so we'll just say whatever you want.
Well, we don't look at it quite that way. We're just telling our stories. Very good. The next group of slides that I want to take you to comes from the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board's Almanac, and I'm going to go through these really fast. I just want you to see what's going to be on your thumb drive to give you some idea. And at the next meeting, we'll go through some of the other data that you will find in the Almanac. But if you look at the South Campus, and this is all by campus, when you get the Almanac, if you look at it, you'll see district total, but you'll also see totals by campus. And so this page here just shows you the percent of students, of the student body on each of the campuses, as well as the total enrollment and the degrees and certificates awarded. So you can see on the South Campus for this year, we had 11,587 students, and the South Campus, those students who received degrees from South Campus, and that's always, many students who receive their degrees have been to 2 campuses or 3 campuses, and sometimes 4 campuses, depending upon their need for what they're doing. But I do want to tell you that overall, as I go through these, you look at the percent of African Americans enrolled on South Campus, 26.3%, and the percent of African Americans who receive degrees at 17.3%, and you compare that to the Hispanics who are enrolled, 27.7% of their enrollment is Hispanic, but they earn 28.6% of the degrees. That's something we're going to focus on this year. How do we close the gaps between the percent of students enrolled and the percent of students who are actually earning a credential of some kind? And that is always interesting. If you look at the Anglo, 39% of the enrollment, but earn 45% of the degrees. International students or others, 6.3%, but earn 7.7% of degrees. So you can see that gap between 17.3% and 26.3% is pretty significant, but is picked up by some of the others. So in every case, you had students other than African Americans earning degrees that's slightly higher than their percentage of enrollment on the campus. These are the kinds of deep dives that we do with data. We're looking at things that we never looked at before. How do we redesign our system so that we can do a better job? And then on the next page, you will see the percent of enrollment change on that campus over the 5-year period, 9.1% increase there. One of the big issues we have, if you look down to percent of academic programs, 61.1%, and those in technical programs, 38.9%. We need to narrow the gap there. We need more students going in technical programs for a lot of reasons. Number one, we think that we can have more success with students when they really get into a program that they can complete versus just getting in the academic track and getting lost. So that's one of the things that we run into. On the Northeast campus, you will see less of a gap between the African American enrollment and the completion of degrees. So they have a little bit better situation. We know that there are a lot of characteristics that go into this. Everybody knows, I think, today that one of the big determining factors and differences has to do with income. There is no way we can get around that. So that's one of the things that perhaps plays a part there, but we don't know. Again, we're going to look and see what we can do. And again, now the Hispanic enrollment on the Northeast campus is higher than the percent of degrees that are awarded. On the Northeast campus, you'll see a percentage in the enrollment change from 08 to 13 at 9.7%. On our Northwest campus, we have an even larger gap with African American students enrolling 13.7% of the enrollment, but only 6.4% of the degrees. Hispanics are also less than their percentage of enrollment on that campus. Anglos are higher. The other students are down a little bit on that campus, and the international students are also higher than their percent of enrollment. So you can see 12,000 students there and 1,086 degrees awarded from that campus. I think one of the differences, I think, on Northwest campus has to do with the programs that are offered there. There tends to be fewer numbers in those programs, those specialized programs like fire training technology, police academy, aviation. There tends to be fewer students of color in those programs. As a matter of fact, in most of our selective admissions programs, you'll find, generally speaking, students of color being represented in smaller numbers than their population on the campus. The growth, look at the enrollment change on Northwest over the last 5 years, 26.5%. And Dr. LeBlanc never allows us to forget that they are bursting at the seams on that campus, and they certainly are. If you go to the Southeast campus, and you can see the enrollment there, 25.7% African Americans with 24.4%. I believe when we looked at these figures the other day, that is the highest percentage, I think. Yes, Southeast has the highest percentage of almost parity there for African Americans. 24.6% Hispanic with 21.5% earning degrees. So if you look at the overall numbers from Southeast campus, they tend to track much more of the student population than the other campuses. We've talked a lot about why we think that is. We don't know. Again, we're going to dig deeper. But we tend to think that the very large and persistent numbers of dual credit students on Southeast campus has paid off big dividends for Tarrant County College. Southeast leads us in dual credit enrollments, has about half of the whole district total, and we think that makes a huge difference. The enrollment change on Southeast campus over the last 5 years has been 22.6%. So that, again, is a very large percentage. On the Trinity River campus, the African American enrollment, 17.2%, earning 11.4% of the degrees and certificates. Hispanic students, 35.6%, earning 23%. Anglos, 40.1%, earning 55%. Other students, 6.3%, earning 7.7%, and international students, 0.8%, earning 2.3% of degrees. On a very, and then the final page for Trinity River campus, enrollment change from '09 to '13, 127%. That is just absolutely awesome. And every time you look at that, I have to say to the board members how insightful you were when you determined that we really need to do a downtown campus and that there was so much need out there that we would be very pleased if we did that. So I think it has all come certainly to pass that we absolutely did need that campus. I will tell you too, overall, in this period of time, our Hispanic enrollment in the district has increased 79%. The African American enrollment in the district over this period of time has increased 57%. So we should give ourselves a huge round of applause for having brought in, and that helps us close the gaps. That's one of our initiatives that is dictated by the Higher Education Coordinating Board. As you recall, Closing the Gaps was a 10-year program that is to end next year. And so TCC has certainly done an outstanding job in bringing in those two ethnic groups who are highlighted for the coordinating board, is that we need more Hispanic students, we need more African American students. Statewide, some of our board members who were in San Antonio not very long ago, you heard the commissioner say statewide on the African American side, with those numbers, we are ahead of projection. However, as large of an increase as we've had with Hispanic students statewide, we are still a little bit below target. So Tarrant County College is doing its share. Perhaps we can do more. We're going to certainly work on doing more to make sure that we continue to get more Hispanic students here, because the population, of course, is growing so very, very much. The next page that you have here is a developmental education page with a fall 2009 cohort. Now, that just simply means that we started with a number of students, and we track those students as we go through. You can see that in math, the below standard simply means that students came in needing to be remediated. In math, South Campus had 682, Northeast 978, Northwest 652, Southeast 848, and Trinity River 307. And then you can see on the next line the percent of those students who met their TSI obligation in math. Again, Southeast Campus led that with 26.8%. If you look at the number of students who completed a college course in math, Southeast led that with 9.4%. So again, we're asking ourselves what goes on Southeast Campus that we need to dig deeper and figure out what's happening, and how do we duplicate that kind of number throughout the district. When we go to reading, you see the numbers there that were below standard, and when you look at the number of students who met their TSI obligation, again, Southeast is at the top at 46.1%, and for those who completed a college level course, again, it's Southeast at 34.3% who met their TS obligation and completed a college course. And in writing, you see the number of students who were below standard, those who met their obligation, 33.9% on Southeast, and those who completed a college level course, 23.1%. Stephen and Karen, Mr. Brown, Ms. Silverberg, these are the kind of data that we hope the faculty will really delve into and say, okay, what's the magic bullet? What's happening on Southeast? What do we need to do? And I don't think this one is due to dual credit, because if they're in dual credit, they're already TSI complete, you see. So these are different students we're talking about. These are the walk-ins, never having been in a dual credit class before, perhaps, that we're getting on Southeast, and we're doing a better job over there of helping those students to success. I will not take time to go through the rest of these because I want to get into the budget, but I have them all here for your information. And when you read it, if you have any questions, please give me a call. I'll be happy to answer those questions for you. Or feel free to call any one of the campus presidents if you want to talk specifically about something that's going on one of the campuses. But these are very good data for us to examine and hopefully to learn how we can do better in all cases, including Southeast. But at the same time, I think we need to look at what's going on so that we'll be better prepared to do that. So now I'll get into the numbers that we want to present to you tonight, starting with the top 10 Texas community colleges, as we always do. We'll look at comparisons of where we are versus where others are. And you'll note that the valuations for each of the community colleges in the top 10 is there. Our valuation is at number 4. The next one will show you the 2014 tax rate. Ours, of course, is proposed. We don't. We hope that you will agree. That's no change from last year. Unless you make us increase the tax rate, that's what it'll be. I didn't hear anybody say anything. So you're not going to ask us to increase the tax rate, I assume. We don't recommend that. As far as tuition, you'll see we are there slightly below the middle in what we charge for tuition. And as you know, we are operating on a 3-year tuition plan, which means that this year, 14-15, there will be no increase per your decision 3 years ago. This will be the last year of that decision, unless you decide to reinstate it. On the next page, you have the state average of tuition, $78 across the state, all community college districts included in that number. And the top 10, the average is $69. And of course, we're number 7 in ranking in the top 10 at $55. This next page just shows you the total tuition for out of district. For the spring 2014, the total by semester hour. So you see at Austin Community College, out of district costs $260 per hour. Out of district for us is $86. So we're number 8. We're number 8 in the lowest in the state for out of district tuition. And then, of course, the non-resident tuition, which is out of state or for foreign students, we're number 4 at $205 an hour, with Alamo being the highest at $361. This next slide shows you our in-district tuition of $55, out of district at $86, out of state $205, and non-resident $205. And you can see we really don't have a lot of out-of-state or non-resident students. About 1,400 of our students fall in that category. The next page gives you what we have designed as our preliminary budget for 2014-15. Our state appropriation will remain the same. As you know, it's a biennial appropriation. So we got $54.3 million last year. We'll get $54.3 million this year. Our maintenance and operation income from the TARRANT appraisal district will go from $148 million to $159.1 million, with an increase of $11,080,278. Credit hour tuition, we're not expecting any increase because we don't have any increase there. Non-credit hour tuition, we're decreasing that conservatively to $350,000, even though we have plans to try not to have a loss there, but that's what we're projecting at this point. The same with the non-credit, non-funding. The funded tuition comes to us from the coordinating board for those programs that meet the guidelines for funding. And many of those skilled programs that we have, the certificate programs, we do get credit funding from the Higher Education Coordinating Board. The non-credit funded tuition would be those courses that don't meet that, and that would be the avocational courses for the most part. We charge probably lower rates for our non-credit courses than many institutions charge. Our philosophy over the years has been to price the courses so that most people in Tarrant County who want to enroll in a program can do so. So that's one of the reasons why in many instances we have not made as much money on those programs as we would like. We'd like for them to be break even, but in this case we're looking at maybe a $450,000 deficit perhaps on these programs. You really can't count the non-credit funded as a deficit for the $350,000 because we are getting reimbursement. I think that's right. Nancy, is that net reimbursement or the $350,000 that we're projecting as?
That's not including the state.
That's not. So it may not necessarily be. We still try with non-credit to break even on the front side, and then the money that we would get from the state would be additional money. One example of what we do, for instance, with Cisco funding, many of you have seen that wonderful lab that Dr. Darlich has on Northeast Campus. And we charge a very low tuition rate for the Cisco lab compared to what a lot of institutions charge. Many institutions will choose to not take the state funding and charge a significantly higher price. We take the state funding, which means that we have to charge pretty much the same thing that we charge for others. That could, of course, bring in more dollars for the college, but again, we have, until this point, decided not to do that. It's a great deal for our taxpayers. Interest income, we're looking at being flat, the same with indirect costs and others. Designated reserves at $5 million, which brings us to the total educational and general revenue being at $10,630,000. You'll note that the maintenance operation tax there would cover an additional $619,722 that would go into our capital improvement plan. And finally, our debt service is going down. You know, you will pay off the very last money that we owe in 2015, and we'll be finished with that. So that's less $1.4 million, looking for no increase in the interest on that. So the total income then will be $9.8 million on the revenue side. If you go to the next page, you will see that the tax rate, as I said earlier, we're projecting to remain at 1.149500. Again, the debt service amount goes down. The maintenance and operation line goes up slightly, but the final number is still the 14.95 cents per $100 valuation. In essence, no tax increase. Insurance premiums that the college will pay this year will increase $500,000. That will be our portion that we'll have to pay. You'll recall last biennium, the legislature cut a deal with the Texas Association of Community Colleges, and we had been wrangling with the legislature for about 3 years over what they call proportionality payments, which meant that they wanted to pay only for the employees' salaries who were covered by the appropriation, which was not going to be a very good thing for most of us. They compromised and said, okay, we'll just go 50-50 with you, and we don't ever want to discuss this again. We thought that was a pretty good deal, so we jumped on that. So the increases, the health insurance premiums are increasing. You'll see that in a minute. But our share is going to be $500,000, but that also would And then you go to the next column where it says new employee and turnover waiting period from 90 days to 60 days. Because of the Affordable Care Act, many new employees are very happy because the state had to reduce the 90-day waiting period back to 60. We used to have 60 for years and years, and then the state moved it up, not the state, but the Employee Retirement System of Texas, ERS, that takes care of all the insurance for all public institutions in Texas, except UT Austin and Texas A&M. And I don't know how they managed to get out of it, but they're out of it. But because of that, it's going to cost us about $250,000 more to cover people for 30 days more than what we were covering in the past. And of course, the new employees that you will see in a minute that are being projected will call for a $50,000 increase. So we're looking at about $800,000 in addition for the health premiums. And then, of course, the retirement matching will increase by $250,000, and so will the FICA and Medicare increase there from this time next year over this current year. Utilities are projected to increase $670,000. And then the next two pages you will see come from the KELP members. They were giving you all those wonderful stories so that when you saw this page, you would understand what they're asking and why. Reginald Gates already put in the request for his $250,000 for additional advertising and promotion campaign. The Vice Chancellor for Information and Technology, Tim Marshall, needs a printer, a digital color press printer and copier for our print shop for $80,000, and the Innovation Forum Management System database for $180,000. Dr. Gates Black is asking for $11,124 for weekend hours for enrollment services on-call staff, and $60,000 for records management imaging on-call staff. You heard Mr. Marshall talk about the new imaging system that we have district-wide, and then we also have staff in David Jimenez's shop that will work with imaging locally before things can be sent to the district imaging center. Is that right, David?
We'll actually move the imaging from the records management area to the enrollment services offices.
Okay. And that'll cost $60,000 for on-call staff to help with that. In Angela Robinson's area, it's going to cost us $450,000 for security for the Northwest Center for Excellence in Aviation, Transportation, and Logistics. That would be an outsourced contract, which is certainly the most efficient way to handle that. But I insisted on having a full-time Tarrant County College police officer out there as well. That'll cost another $46,000. And then she's asking for $47,017 for safety emergency management. So that request from the KELP altogether comes to $1.124 million. And on the next page, the presidents have their request. Each one of them is requesting one new faculty member on the campus in various areas. Trinity River has someone in sign language. South Campus has a person in automotive technology. Northeast has a person in speech. Northwest has speech, and Southeast has speech. Speech is one of our core curriculum courses, and all students must take it. It's a growing field, and so they're each asking for one faculty member. That will cost us about $310,700. They're asking for 4 part-time employees in the testing center for $46,760, 3 part-time positions in student development staff, and 5 upgrades. You've heard me talk for the last 3 years about moving toward standardization, and we still have a few that are still left out there that need to be standardized, and so that total would be $117,000. Each campus needs an operating budget for the early college high school. This $160,000 includes $50,000 for each campus except South. South Campus, as you remember, has a school within a school, so the expenses for that one this year is not as much. So it's only $10,000 in there for South Campus. And then, of course, there's $21,300 they're asking for weekend services for advising, testing, and health services, and their request is $655,832 for a total new request of $1.8 million. The next page shows you the change in the health premiums for Health Select of Texas, and you can see over all the way to the right-hand side that what the increases are. $34.52 for a member only, $54.38 for member and spouse, $47.80 for a member and child or children, and $67.66 for member and family. And on the very last column, you see the out-of-pocket cost for each employee in those categories, ranging from $19.86 for employee and spouse, all the way to $33.14 for employee and family. So that's a pretty significant increase there. The next page shows you what a 1% salary increase along with fringe benefits would cost the district, $2.06 million. And then this next one, which gets me ready to make my case for a salary increase, and we'll talk about it in a minute. I want to give you the history of what we've done over the last 5 years. Actually, every one of these budgets I presented to you starting in 2009 and asked and received. In all cases, you said yes to salary increases, 3.5% in 9-10, 2% 10-11, and across the board, $1,000 to every employee in 11-12, which amounted to about 1.75% on average. Some got significantly less than that. 2012-13, 3%, 2014-13-14, 3.5%. And then that next column, the third column, shows you the cost of living for each of those years in the Dallas-Fort Worth Standard Metropolitan Statistical Area, SMSA. As you know, the SMSA includes the largest cities along with a large number of other cities that are surrounding that area. So you get the term Standard Metropolitan Statistical Area. And you'll see what the cost of living index was for our area for each of those years. And then the final column shows you the difference, which would be the real salary increase that employees would get over those 5 years. So you started in 2009-10, and you have 1.47% of real salary increase. 11, you got a negative 0.07%. In 12, a negative 0.38%. In 13, 0.84%. And in 14 this year, 1.31%. And that averages out to a little less than 3%. Was that right? 3.2%, which is less than 1% a year. I want to drive that home with you. Less than 1% a year that I want to focus on for you. Thank you. Next slide, please. We've done our canvassing as we always do, and I want to emphasize that in all of these, I believe those are definite. These are decisions that have been made by boards, except the last one. Tarrant County, according to Judge Whitley, they are considering 3 to 3.5% for county employees, and he's thinking it's probably going to be on the 3.5% side, but he's not absolutely sure. So I want to make sure if Judge Whitley is watching and he sees this, that he knows that I said exactly what he said. Okay, that's not a definite thing, but that's what they're projecting at this point. He said they'll know probably next week. I think he said their meeting is next week, and they'll know that. And then on the next page, what you have is a straw poll that we do every year with the Texas Association of Community Colleges, and what you see up here is the Big Ten and what people are expecting to give for salary increases. And you'll see Alamo there at 2.9 and 2.8, Austin 2 to 3% that they are going to give, and it'll vary. Collin County 3.5% in both categories, Dallas. Dallas has a very, very, very interesting strategy for this year. I talked with the chancellor this afternoon, and he told me that he said, get a pencil and paper because this is going to be complicated. And it is complicated what they're doing, but he said they've looked at their salaries and they've determined through market surveys that in some cases they're as high as 20% below where they ought to be. And so they're working to do something about that. So they have decided, well, at least the chancellor is presenting to their board and he thinks it will pass. They're going to do a 2.5% across the board increase, and then they are going to increase other groups, some by as much as 7.5%, depending upon where the employees are in that category. They're doing something also very interesting with faculty, JCC members. They've had a different way of funding summer school, which wasn't sustainable, of course. You know, we talk about that a lot. What they've been doing, they couldn't sustain, so they cut way back, and now they're changing back a little bit. And for a faculty member who teaches 2 courses in the summer, they'll get paid $1,300 per semester hour, which comes to $3,900 for 1 course, and they'll pay them that for 2 courses. If they want to teach more than that, it's $700 and some dollars. I don't have my notes with me. I thought I did. But anyway, it's interesting. So if a faculty member is not teaching summer school, they get no salary increase except the 2.5%. Many of the others will get significantly more than that. So I asked Dr. May, did he expect to get run out of town? He said the verdict is still out on that. So anyway, overall, I believe the administrative group will get somewhere around 3 to 4%, and the faculty will get 2.5% unless they teach summer school, because there's a huge amount of money being put into that, he said, was their rationale. And most of the support staff people, or many of them, are going to get as much as 5% salary increase. So that's where we are with that. Next one. Everything we do is all about student success, and our motto is success is within reach. And now I have time for all of your questions. My goal was for us to finish this at 7:30. We are 10 minutes over. But you take as much time as you want to ask questions or comments. I normally, at this time of the year, I ask you what your appetite is for a salary increase, and then I come back the next time and tell you what I'm recommending. I thought I'd kind of reverse it this time and tell you what I'm thinking about, and then let you think about it between now and the next time. I've consulted with my dear consultants back here, and I've consulted with all my consultants around the table, and I've talked with my colleagues around the state. And my recommendation to you for this year, and what you saw in the preliminary budget that I gave you, included a 3% salary increase for Tarrant County College employees. And I will give you my rationale for making that request. Number one, I will tell you that I think the faculty and the staff and the administrators at Tarrant County College all work extremely hard, and it's deserved. I think with all of the initiatives that we have going on, and we're doing a great job of moving. You heard all these wonderful things that are happening here, and the CALP members, of course, are representative of all the people who work for them. So everything they lay out for you, all these good things that are happening, you already know. They didn't do them alone. They work with everybody else, all the support people working around the districts, and the faculty and everybody has helped us to reach where we are today. The next reason that I'll give you is that Tarrant County College does very well with our salaries. There is no question about it. We work hard here, and a lot of people want to come to work here because we are such a great place to work. We really want to keep it that way. We like to reward people when we can. The budget will allow for a salary increase, and so it's not as though we can't afford it. However, when we say we're going to spend money on one thing, we know that it could, of course, be spent on something else. I can't, however, think of anything better to do with money when you have it than to make sure that you keep the people that you have as happy as you can keep them. You keep the morale up. You give a salary increase when you can. Another reason why I want you to consider it is because when you don't, anytime you don't give a salary increase, you get behind, and then you're trying to catch up, and that costs even more money. So in my way of thinking, it just takes a lot less, I think, angst for us to move ahead as we can. Another reason why I would ask you to give a salary increase, if you look at what the other public institutions and entities around Tarrant County are doing, I think you will see that they're all looking at the cost of living, the inflation that we incur every year, and in order to stay a little bit ahead of that, and you see we're just a little bit ahead of it, less than 1% a year is what we've done over the last 5 years. So even though you may think about it as, well, you've given all these big salary increases, but when you look at the real earning power that those dollars are buying, then I think you can see that a salary increase is certainly something to consider. And then finally, I would tell you that when we look at faculty salaries as an example, and we do well, I think we're, and I don't have that number in front of me, Angela, I don't know if you're about number 3 still, number 2, but when you look at the Social Security monies that we put in, that probably puts us up there as number 1. I'm not sure if we pass Austin, but I think we do when you add that 6% to that salary. But the other thing I want to mention to you, our younger faculty members don't think a hill of beans about that when I talk about it. They say, you can't spend that now. Of course, you can spend it later. And if you talk to a faculty member who's getting close to retirement, they'll be bragging about that extra paycheck they're going to get. So it is real money, and we pay it out. But on the other hand, when you look at the independent school districts around us, there's no way, I think, that we can afford to be less than what the independent school districts are paying, and some of them pay up there right along with our faculty. So we can't afford to go backwards, I think, with our salaries. So with that, I will stop and ask for your questions, your comments, and entertain any discussion that you might want to have. Madam President.
Ms. Vanderbeek?
I have a question. And first and foremost, I'd just like to say that I think the information is valuable, and it's been you've done a great job being very thorough and telling the stories and the numbers as well. My question has to do with the straw poll in regards to the comparative salary increases, and I was interested in the San Jacinto performance-based model. What is that?
It means that Dr. Brenda Hillier has talked her board into using a performance-based program for salaries. And so where you see, and if you get back to that page, Shelley, for me, the range on her salary increases was going to be 3 to 4.5%. Some people won't get anything as an increase if they didn't perform to the level that was expected and agreed upon, say. Let's say there's a goal that you're going to do X, Y, Z, and at the end of the period, you only did X, you didn't do Y and Z. And so you get evaluated and you get a score. And depending upon your score, that's where your salary increase range would fall. So she says between 3 and 4.5%. And if you use that, I don't think Ricardo is in here. Is he? Okay. Ricardo might want to come to the microphone. If you use that range, somebody may get 1%. Somebody may get 10. Ricardo?
Yes.
Need to add anything to that?
Yes. Typically what they'll do.
Come to the microphone. Come here.
So are the evaluations by superiors or student-based, or how?
Superiors.
Back to the cost. Typically, the universities and colleges that engage in both merit and performance-based pay have 2 pools of money. One is a minimal amount for the percent of increases based on cost of living. Then they have a pool of money set aside for performance-based. They tie them to different types of goals. They could be tied to institutional goals and achieving those goals. Some of those are for executives, and then some are cascaded throughout the organization to lower levels. So depending upon how you want to structure it, generally that would be the framework for that type of approach in terms of providing for merit as well as across the board or performance-based pay. Does that help? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Coronado.
We know for sure that San Jacinto is the only district that
That does merit pay?
operates that way.
That does merit pay, you mean? I'm not aware of another district. However, Dr. Joe May told me this afternoon that this may be the last time Dallas does anything across the board, if he has anything to say about it.
Is this new to San Jacinto? Have they done this before?
I think this is about 3 years old.
Any
You
other
do know
questions
that.
or comments?
Yeah, I just had a couple really in there. One is I'm trying to do a little rough math with that. It's like about a 7.5% increase in property tax revenue. Is that about right?
Nancy, how much is it?
It's about 5. Little over 5.
What?
Little about 5%. Little over
5.
5%.
I think it's more than that.
The reason is we,
Come to the microphone, please.
because we keep the total tax rate will remain same. So we got like a 1.7 million fund the debt service because we reduced the debt. We have to use up whatever fund balance for the sinking for last year we were in there. So we raised up and more little bit.
Okay, well, I guess I'm just asking, we can play with those numbers all we like, but in the end, it looked like it was $11 million. Is that right?
11.7.
Well, that if you divide that by your budget, it's around 7.5, no matter what you do. So I guess my question is, what is the effective tax rate?
Effective rate will be 14.85, 8.5.
So it would be a little bit
Higher.
a little bit higher than the effective tax rate.
No, lower than effective.
A little bit
rate.
lower
Can
than
go
that.
up.
Okay, I get that. And the other is, okay, so you're asking for 3%, Chancellor, is that right?
3% salary increase?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I guess the next big question then is if you do that, and it sounds sort of reasonable given the cost of living thing, then, what we don't see here is really what we have left for other projects that we might want to do within the next year or so. For example, that arts thing, if we decide to do it. I don't know how much money that leaves. I'm sure we'll cover it next time, but
Well, no, we can't cover it next time, but we
no, I mean that possibility or not. So
Yeah, I have no money set aside in the budget for Northeast Campus Performing Arts Center and
All right.
technical. None.
So those are the kind of things. But we have enough. We're leaving enough here without tax increases to go ahead and fund our energy center.
Yes, sir.
And we got the new campus.
The early college high school.
At Southeast.
And
So
we've
there's-
got $6 million in there for completion of the early college high school move out for Northeast. This move in for August was just phase number 1. Early college high schools are started 100 students at a time, or 125. And Larry, you've got 120. And so we just renovated the space that we had to have for August. And Nina's team will be jumping in there immediately to get ready for the second phase that will come in. So that's going to cost us about $6 million, not just for that facility, but we got to move a lot of people out and relocate.
I understand. That's what I'm asking is that if we did 3%, is it going to leave us in a bind on any of those? So you've budgeted that, and you're going to talk about it next time.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, well, it seemed to me that, and this is going to sound strange for me, that the 3% is within the parameters. I thought 3.5 was a bit much, is what we were talking about originally, but it seemed to me, given, by the way, I appreciate the basic inflation guidelines, because it looks like that basically their earning power is increasing, but just very marginally, and 3% sounds like, if that's doable, that sounds pretty fair to me.
Good, thank you.
Any other questions or comments, Mr. Carter? You have
That's it.
Mr. Greenhill? Dr. Morrison? Mr. Heed?
Well, last year, I think we set aside $2 million for $5 million every year. So what you're saying basically is that this year there will be no $5 million set aside for pay-as-you-go, something in the future because we're expending it?
We're expending it on early college, high school,
Yeah.
Energy Technology Center, early college, high school, 13 plus 6.
Okay.
Nancy?
Yes, 5 million is still there in the budget.
It is still there?
Plus the money we got for the others.
Right. Now, just in case you want to know, you want increase to effective rate, I know nobody want, but if we want increase tax rate, that will generate another $7 million.
What did you say?
If we want
If she goes to the
Okay. Will remain the same.
tax rate, it's another 7 million, which is kind of where I was
Yeah,
trying to
you
lead
were
to
asked.
before, like that.
But Ryan,
So you would actually, if you went to the effective tax rate, which would be what?
another $7 million.
Now, how much? What would the number be? 11 point? You said 85.
Would be 7. Would be
14, I'm sorry.
18.7. Yeah.
No, the percentage of tax rate would be 15 what?
Would be 14.850 plus the death rate.
So it would be an increase of about 18 million overall.
Right,
So,
right.
Okay.
Just in
I
case.
kind of doubt that we're going to do that, but thank you.
Well, I mean, it's an option for you, and it's money you could put in pay-as-you-go fund if you wanted to do that. I mean, you could say that $7 million you could put on Northeast Campus Performing Arts Center if you wanted, which would bring our total to maybe right around $15 million we would have because of the 7.2 in the TIF fund.
I find that when we collect it, we spend it. So
That's why you collect it, isn't
yeah,
it?
I know.
Oh, okay.
We find a way to spend it.
Well, that's true. That's absolutely true, Mr. Carter. We could, I mean, where's Nina? Nina's sitting over there, and we had a chat just before we came in here. She said, I'm nervous. I said, well, don't be nervous. We got the money for everything you need. She keeps thinking of all the things we have. And,
I guess that would be another question, too, is there some opportunity out there, something that we really, really need to do, but we can't do it with this particular proposed budget?
Well, we don't know of anything out there that we need to do more than what we have presented to you. Now, if the board has some things that you want us to consider, of course, we'll do that. But just, candidly speaking, I rely upon the KELP members to bring to me what they think they need. And I guarantee you there are other needs out there that came to the table. Absolutely, there are other needs that are out there. Bill Capola has a lot of things he wants to do on. I'm not going to even go there, Bill, with that, but I'm not going to tell it. But, and to give you a great example, the Innovation Forum, Margaret Ludden and her team have done a great job, and we've got a lot of input from people. We have projects, I guess, about, I don't know how many, 15, 16? 25. We have 25 projects, some of which I would not recommend that you fund right now anyway. But there is one on there, the number one project on that list, I certainly have an interest in. All the KELP members have an interest in it, and that would be the student supplemental instruction program that would be implemented throughout the district. You've heard us talk some about supplemental instruction. We're doing some of it already. But, and I'm not sure whose idea it was to go to the Innovation Forum. I don't know who took it, whether it was faculty or faculty members took it to the Innovation Forum. And it's going to cost about $1 million, how much, Margaret? $1.4 million to implement. That would be my top priority if we came up with another $1.4 million to implement that project. There are other things on that Innovation Forum list that we would do if we had more money, but we don't think anything is that urgent that we should.
I also didn't see any really student growth projections. It looks like it's just barely above flat. And I saw all those numbers, but I'm not quite sure how many total full-time and part-time employees that you're really proposing that we increase, that we fund in this budget.
What you saw up there, if my memory will serve me here, 5 full-time faculty, 6 or 7 part-time support staff, 1 full-time police officer. Did I miss something? Anybody? Yeah, but that's not new. Those are not new people. So it's just a handful of new employees that you see up there.
Given the reality, again, this is going to sound strange for me, given the realities of the Alliance campus, it sounds reasonable to me.
Thank you.
Ms. Appleman, if I might.
Go, Dr. Morrison.
First of all, let me paraphrase a saying that I grew up hearing on television with the GE commercial. Many of you probably don't remember that, but Ronald Reagan would come on and say, progress is our most important product. And so paraphrasing that, I would like to say that people are our most important asset, but they're also our most important product. And I think we've seen that reflected here in some of the success stories that we've had tonight. I also see that as being one of our greatest challenges. And so 2 of the things that I wanted to say was, this is kind of a speak now or ever hold your peace moment. Because once a tax rate is set and a tax year passes, you can never recapture the potential income that is there. And if you reflect back to a few years ago when we had $236 million in the bank, we didn't put it there all in one year. We put it there by the wisdom and the bravery, courage of the board. So I'm just putting that out there for people, including the executive leadership team, to think about. The other thing is, I was going to ask if there was one additional thing that really is not urgent, because we don't want to always operate on an urgency model, that you wanted to talk about or that would really push the envelope forward with our success within REACH. I would like to hear about that. And since you mentioned the Student Supplemental Instruction Program, I would like to hear more about that, if you would share that information with us perhaps at the next meeting. And the second thing is, I have this idea when we talk about REACH that in addition to the broad marketing approach that we take, I would like to suggest looking at the population data that you suggested. We might need to work on reaching one student at a time or small groups of students. Because when you talk about moving students from engagement to success or enrollment to completion and to success, that has to do a lot with personal motivation and achievement. And when we look at the number of students that are enrolled in academic programs as opposed to technical programs, perhaps there are students there who've never thought about enrolling in a technical program or getting a technical certificate. And I think that one thing that we could do would be very student-centered, which would be to devise and design and implement a program that engages individual students in considering technical certifications and programs. I believe that that would greatly enhance and increase our numbers. None of you will remember this. When I first campaigned in 1976, one of my slogans was, with our hands and our minds. And I still think that that is a thought that as we strive to reach more students and to help more students achieve greater success, that we need to engage that thinking. So I would like for you all to put your great minds to work on every student and to see all of that gap of 33% of students as potential technical successes. I really think that coming out of community college, every one of our students should have some level of a certificate or a technical certification. We almost owe that to them in today's market. For instance, at one time on an employment application, you were asked about your degree. And now, the most important thing, I'm told, is skills and certifications. people, even though they have a master's degree, employers want to know about those different Microsoft certifications, and if students don't have them, in instances, they have to go back and pay to earn their own Microsoft certifications or other certifications. And we have the potential here, while students are coming through, to earn many of those certifications. I think we need to intentionally engage in counseling our students, every single one of them, to make them more aware of what are those potential certifications that they can earn as they get their academic coursework. We know that many of them come to us thinking, I'm going to take a few hours and I'm going to transfer on, and we know in reality that very often does not happen. And so I think it's very important to help them get the extra offerings that we have. They will look back and thank us in the future, and I appreciate your indulgence. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Morrison. I just called Rachel and said, did you write all that down? We want to make
She's
sure.
on tape. You can rewatch the video.
We want to make sure that we address all of those. Let me address one thing right now, because it's as though you've been reading my mind or sitting in on some of our meetings, because one of the things we've been talking about
And I
so
asked, but she's never let me come to one of her meetings. I constantly ask.
We know that we need to spend more time with each student on the front end. And that's one of my big goals for this year coming up. And we've talked about it a number of times already in how it's going to operate. Tim Marshall has implemented a program that's called Clockworks. Has an S on it, doesn't it? Clockworks?
I don't know if it's an S or an X. It's Canadian, so you know those crazy Canadians.
Okay. It is a program that will allow us to schedule students. I have been pushing this for 3 years. It takes me a minute or two to get things off center sometimes. But I've said to our people for 3 years, we need to do a better job on the front end with our students. At peak times during registration, the lines are long for advising, because community college students tend to wait as long as you will allow them to wait before they register or do whatever they need to do. And so the lines form. I've asked that we, during peak times, that we work 7 days a week, and that we design a system where a student can select a time for advisement online, and the time would be within an hour and a half, whatever we wanted to do. They would show up on the campus and get that little call button like you get at the restaurants when they've got long lines. And it's your time, it beeps or it rings, pagers. Thank you, student pagers. And then when a student comes in, give that student as much time as is necessary, because one of the biggest issues we have, you talk about students, maybe they don't know. It's not maybe. It is that they don't know very often what their options are. They know what they've heard about. You know, as a matter of fact, I guess we've got, what percent of our students want to be nurses, Tahita? About 17,000 students may want to be a nurse. Well, they aren't going to be a nurse here. And maybe, I don't know where they might be a nurse, but they won't be one here. And then the other piece of that, so many of those students who want to be nurses are not anywhere close to prepared to get into a nursing program. And so they start on a campus, any campus, and they've got to take developmental ed, and they get caught in that quagmire, and it takes them 3 or 4 years to get out. They never get in the nursing program, but we've lost a lot of them in the meantime. And so what our goal is going to be is to take that student, we have their scores, we know about what they need to do, and show them some other medical technology programs in which they could be successful. But you can't do that in 10 minutes. You can't do that in 15 minutes. You need more time with the student. So we're going to implement Clockworks. I was hopeful that we'd do it for this semester, but you know, it takes us a little longer time than I'm comfortable with to get things like that started, but we're working on it. So know that that is coming online. Hopefully we will have it fully implemented this spring semester. where we can give students significantly more time. A group on South Campus has already designed a system that will start what we want to do, but it doesn't quite go as far as I would like to see it go. Now, one of the things you mentioned about you want to know at the next meeting, what are some things that we would like to do, you'd like to hear about them?
Well, I will settle for one. I'll settle for the student supplemental instruction program.
That's a big one for us. And so, you might want to think about, how we would pay for something like that.
Well, Madam Chancellor, we have brilliant minds in this room.
Oh, we have recommendations. I could give you one right now.
As you
that's not
said,
the point.
This board, historically and currently, has been in favor of saying yes, because we have supported student success even by other names. And we have a commitment to attain the goal that was set 49 years ago when people in the county were campaigning, and I started to send all of you a text on July 31st, which was our birthday, 49 years old, that we would provide an accessible, affordable education to the students of Tarrant County. And we've done that in an amazing way. And we've added other descriptors as we've gone along. And we've made tremendous differences in the lives of the people of Tarrant County and in Tarrant County as a whole. Can you ever imagine what Tarrant County would be like without Tarrant County College? I cannot. And so I think that this is kind of an aha moment that as we pause, as I said, we need to think, really, this year is so very important to us. And once a year is gone from the life of a student or the life of an institution, we cannot reclaim it. So we need to push it to the max and make certain that we're doing that. And that's just, I want us all to think about that. We have some time before we take this vote, and I would just like us to stretch our minds and our imaginations and our heart. The presentations tonight were wonderful, and but let's just be a little bit more, perhaps, give it a second thought. Thank you.
Dr. Morrison.
Other comments, questions? Thank all of you very much. I know a lot of work has gone into this evening's presentation. And we are going to adjourn into a closed meeting for deliberation of real property, Section 551.072 of the Texas Government Code. Deliberation on personnel matters, Section 551.074 Texas Government Code. And consultation with our attorney, Section 551.071 Texas Government Code. We are adjourned. Thank you.